This happened to me about 2 years ago when I was 17. My family went out for the day to go shopping for food and I stayed home alone. I was in my room playing games on my PC with my headphones on, and I always keep my door closed. So after about an hour I get up to use the bathroom. Both the bathroom and my room are on the second floor, and our house at the time was a 2-story detached house in West Belfast, Northern Ireland. So when I get back to my room, I remembered closing the door and continuing playing games. About 30 minutes later, I go to check my phone, but realized I left it in the bathroom. I get up to get it and notice my door is open slightly. Now, my house isn't drafty, and I know the door is good and doesn't just open due to wind or whatever, so it catches me off guard. But I reason that I probably just didn't close it all the way and head out to get my phone. I come back and continued to play, making sure I closed the door on my way back in. Sometime later, I hear my family come back home. I hear them bringing the first load of shopping into the kitchen and go out to the car to get more. When they come back in, they call my name and I head downstairs. When I came down, I saw the back patio door was lying wide open. They asked me if I was out back at any point while they were away, and I told them that I wasn't. We looked outside and saw one of the deck chairs was pulled over to a lower part of the fence, facing a small area of woodland leading into another street. Obviously not where it should be. This shocked me. My mind raced with ideas of what the hell was going on. This is my own personal theory. Somebody had managed to get in, most likely through the back door. They had went to see if the house was clear, went upstairs, opened my door, and saw me. Then they must have decided to wait downstairs for some reason. Maybe thinking I would leave or they could ambush me, but had gotten scared and hid when my family returned, using the fact that they had left the kitchen to bring in more shopping to slip out as fast as they could, and use the chair to get over the fence. Even with this idea, I don't understand why they would risk coming in, given it was in the middle of the day. Plus, if they had seen I had headphones on, why not just come up behind me and deal with me then? The worst thing about this is I have no concrete proof of what happened that day. I have no idea why someone came in, how they got in, or who they were. But one thing I feel certain about is that somebody did come in my house that day. There's more to this story. A week or so later, it's late at night, around 2 a.m.-ish, and I'm in my room playing games. While playing, I end up drifting off to sleep. I am woken up by my mom coming in shaking me and asking me if I was outside. I told her no, I've been in here all night and I was asleep. She explains to me that while she was laying in bed, she heard the back door slam, and as her room is just above the kitchen and back door, she felt the shake of the slam. My stepdad was working night shift at the time, so it was only me, my mom, and my sister in the house. I go downstairs to see if everything's okay. The door is wide open. Our back garden is pitch black darkness, so not knowing if anyone was out there, I close it and lock it, and looked around the garden from inside with a torch. I don't see anyone outside and decide to stay downstairs for a few hours keeping a lookout. The next day, we changed the locks. The strange thing about both of these instances is that nothing was stolen. None of our things were missing, and it seemed like nothing had been really moved or the drawers even looked through. I have absolutely no explanation for this, and to this day it still baffles me. We had discussed getting the police involved, but we felt because there was no serious evidence of a crime taking place and that we would be moving out of that house in a matter of weeks, unrelated to all of this, we decided there really wouldn't be anything that they could do to help. So we just had our locks changed and made absolutely sure to keep things locked and watched until we had moved out. A few years ago, my husband and I were remodeling our house. I had purchased my grandparents' old home after they had passed away, so we wanted to update it. We had gutted the living room and replaced the drywall. I had been sanding drywall mud off all evening, so my husband left for work. He was working thirds. I called it a day. I had all the doors and windows open, letting fresh air in and the drywall mud dust out. It was just me and my son, who was 8 at the time, in the home. I had just gotten out of the shower when I heard a knock at the screen door. It scared me. It was 11 p.m. at night and our house was in the country. Our neighbors weren't screaming distance. There was a mobile home park about 1.5 miles down the road, and we never had anyone show up this late. There was a younger girl at the door. She couldn't have been more than 20. She was wearing shorts and a tank top. She asked to use our phone. She said someone was trying to kill her. I wouldn't let her in. I asked her if she wanted me to call the sheriff. She quickly said no. She just wanted to call someone to come and get her. I noticed she was holding a cell phone. She told me the battery was dead. I had 2 German shepherds standing on both sides of me. I told her she could use my phone, but couldn't come in because my dogs were trained attack dogs. We can't let anyone in that doesn't know us or them. She looked freaked out. When I handed her a landline phone, she extended her arm out. That's when I saw it. She had track marks all up and down her arm. I think she was shooting up meth or whatever. She called her ride, and not even 2 minutes later, I see a car come down the side road. It was her ride. He was on a dead-end street. As soon as they left, I closed and locked down everything. I called my husband, my ex-husband, asked if I was overreacting before calling my husband at work, and I called the sheriff. I have never had anything like that happen before or since. I think they saw the house. It was isolated and had the exterior decor of an older person's home, and thought it would be an easy target to rob. Thank God I had my dogs, and I'm glad we didn't get to meet who was in her car picking her up. There is a house on a corner from where I grew up. This old house first came on my radar after my parents had divorced when I was around 9 years old. My dad would pick my brother and I up every weekend and drop us off Sunday nights. One Sunday night he made a comment as we passed by the house. Every time I drive by that house, it looks exactly the same. I was confused, and we pretty much passed it before I could take a look. But he explained, "The curtains are in the same spot. The porch light is always on and nobody is ever in the driveway." That next weekend we drove past the house, and for the first time I saw it. Ordinary looking 90s single-story home. The curtains were open on only the front window. Porch light was on. So for years as I grew up and my dad took us back to my mom's house, I would always check the house to see if there was ever something different. Fast forward to me turning 16 and acquiring a license. It was an amazing time, and I drove my car everywhere as first-time drivers do. Feeling nostalgic, I drove back to the old house where my mom and my brother and I lived. The divorce really impacted me, and I wanted to see our old house where we were once a family, where my dad picked us up and dropped us off when we were no longer. I passed the strange house and continued my ritual. I was blown away. After all these years, it was still the same. One weekend, I gathered my high school buddies and we did some toilet papering. I told my friends about the house and we went and toilet papered it. This is the first time I got to look at it up close. At first glance through the windows, you could see a cross on the wall, a dark green sofa, and a grandfather clock. We toilet papered it until a car passed by on the main road and we split. I went back there with one of my friends who toilet papered it with me, and the toilet paper was gone. The house still looked the same. No car, no toilet paper. So someone lives in there, or the neighbors cleaned it up. Fast forward to my 20s. I started dating a girl who I grew up with. On my commute to her place is this house. It's still the same. I pull over and do something incredibly stupid. I get out of my car and I walk up to the house and ring the doorbell. I figured I could tell them how their house had been an ongoing joke with my dad and friends, and I wanted to clear the air. Across the street, I hear a door shut and I turn around. The neighbor across the street beelines towards me and meets me at the porch of the strange house. "Can I help you?" Confused, I explained to him the story. He seemed to be looking around funny, at me, at the house, and at his surroundings, as if he wasn't really listening to me. He seemed like a rough blue-collar kind of guy and reeked of booze. "Well, nobody's home," is literally all he said, and walked back to his driveway, got in his red pickup, and drove off. At my girlfriend's, I told her the story of the house and about the guy, and she even thought it was odd. My girlfriend and I did the deed, and I left her place at 3 a.m. Exhausted, I rolled the windows down and blasted some red-hot chili peppers, as one does in their 20s. I noticed a car behind me and we entered a residential area, so I turned down the music. It's a red truck. My heart sinks. I make some weird turns and it was definitely following me. I jump on the freeway and lose him. I swore to never go anywhere near that house ever again, but I was angry and I had questions. I gathered my buddy from high school and we stalked that shit out for hours. We started Saturday 3 p.m. Around 9 p.m. that guy in the red truck walks across the street, unlocks the front door of the strange house, sits on the dark green couch and stared at the window as he seemed to be talking. He then disappeared into the house. Garage door opens minutes later. He walks out of the house with more people than he walked in with, and they get into a car parked on the street and driveway. The neighbor guy then locks back up the house and goes across the street into his house. Was this a halfway house? A brothel? We had so many questions. The house still looks the same from the looks of Google Images. I still have no closure and it bothers me. What could this be? Why was this house so staged? Human trafficking? Yes, this state is near the border, 40 through 50 miles away from the border. However, I do not feel this theory carries any weight. The people who walked out with the neighbor were all adult white men. They all seemed geeky, almost dad-like. I'd like to suspect that this was possibly a place for some sort of AA meetings or possibly some sort of group or business being operated out of a home. Maybe that's why the neighbor was so unpleasant, as he wanted to keep it low-key to possibly avoid legally running a business, for reasons such as taxes, licenses, regulations, and so on. It just has eerie vibes. What are your thoughts? As far as the toilet papering goes, I was a teenager. I think we all did some pretty stupid and pretty awkward things in high school. Honesty and integrity are everything. I straightened out my act as I matured and work as a firefighter, paramedic, and contribute to society. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, share it with your friends, all that schnazzy stuff. And if you would like to help support the channel and get yourself some cool perks, make sure you check out my Patreon page. There's exclusive content, there's access to all of my old videos starting back to my first scary stories that are all sent unlisted. Over 24 hours of content. And there's also a private Discord where we chat, so go check it out. I also want to give a special shout out to the W brothers. I know I mentioned this in another video, but I didn't hit on enough details, and I should also let you know I'm not paid for this. They sent me a piece of custom jewelry for free and said if I liked it I could share it. And I liked it, so I'm sharing it. And I'm sharing it again because, when they mailed it to me, I didn't see a paper in there that they included. So I figured I'd give their social medias and their website the proper shout out and let you know that if you are looking for any jewelry custom or whatever they have on their site, make sure you check them out. As you can see by this piece they did for me, the detail is on point. I didn't think they'd be able to get the tiny letters in there, but they did. It's also made with a high quality silver, and you can feel free to send them whatever design. It's actually a really cool gift idea, because rather than spending hours with another piece of jewelry, you can get a custom piece. So once again, I want to give a big thank you to the W brothers, and I highly recommend any of you looking for a nice gift or your own custom jewelry, you check out thewbros.com. And also check out their Instagram, instagram.com/thewbros. I will make sure to have links in the description, and I do highly recommend you check them out if you're looking for a cool gift or jewelry or whatever. Yeah. I appreciate you checking out this video, and I will catch you in the next one. And just remember, it's always scarier if it's true. Bye. I was 34 when this story starts. I had just gotten off a long shift at work and was on my way home. I decided to stop and get some gas for my motorized personnel transportation unit at the local grocery store. They had a way I could use my points from the store to get a discount on gas, so I decided to fill my tank so that way I didn't have to do it on my way to work tomorrow. It's about 3 a.m. when I pull up to the pump. I was about halfway done filling up my tank when a guy pops up out of nowhere wearing a hoodie and says, "Hey dude, you got any change?" I told him I didn't carry any cash on me. He gave me a look that gave off the vibe that he didn't believe me. I told him that I was serious and I hope he has a wonderful night. He pulls out a knife and puts it up next to my car, saying that he'll rip my car apart if I don't give him any money. I tell him the only thing I have is my body. And the reasoning behind this is I was planning on doing a striptease because if anyone has ever seen me striptease, it chases people away. I've chased away probably 4 girlfriends with that method now and it seems to work flawlessly. So I figured what's the harm in trying? I lean into my car and turn the stereo up. I stand back up straight and get into my routine. All the while this guy is looking at me confused. I was probably a good 30 seconds into it, slowly lifting up my shirt at this point. Just as I took my shirt off and started swinging it over my head like a helicopter, the guy tells me to stop. I let him know that I'm only getting warmed up. He starts dragging his knife around the side of my car. So I take this as a sign that I need to up the ante and rip my pants off as fast as possible to get this guy out of here. Thankfully I was wearing breakaway pants, so I ripped them off. I grab them in my other hand and I have my shirt and my pants that I'm swinging around my head like a helicopter, one in each hand. The guy continues walking around my car knifing it. So I start trying to do the party boy thing from Jackass. Fortunately I'm wearing a Speedo, because everyone knows those are really comfortable, and especially if you're at work for like 8 hours plus, a Speedo is a great thing to have. As I get within 3 feet of the guy, I wonder if he's gonna stab me, but he pulls his knife back and starts running off, calling me a sicko. At this point I had pretty much done everything I knew how to do, so I just started chasing the guy, hoping that he would eventually flee. Just as we round a corner, I see a police officer. And lo and behold, his lights turn on and he comes right up to us, stops us both, and places me in handcuffs for questioning. The guy goes first, telling his side of the story, and the officer eats it up. He lets the guy know he's free to go and tells me that I will be taken care of. And the guy flees. The officer comes up to me and tells me I'm under arrest and reads me my rights. I try telling him my side of the story, but he shushes me. He puts me in the back of his police cruiser and starts calling in on the radio for backup. I ask him what I'm being arrested for. And he tells me that it's a crime to look that good in a damn Speedo. That him and his friends would be jealous and he's got to call his friends now so they can get the design of the Speedo. Because it's not just a normal Speedo. Oh hell no, I ain't a normal person. I got one of those ones that actually go up around the shoulders. So there's no hip straps. It's just around your shoulders down to your little dingleberries. Wrapped up around and back around those shoulders. Looks pretty badass. If you've never seen it, you're missing out. You better go look it up. Anyway, I'm in the back of the police car for 30 minutes or so until his buddies arrive. He pulls me out. One of his buddies screams that I have a gun and all of them draw their weapons and point them at me. And then his buddy says, "Oh wait, that's just Johnson. My bad." They all quickly holster their weapons and I'm ushered back into the police vehicle. I ended up spending the night in jail, had my vehicle towed, and was let out the next day. When I finally made it to court, the judge made me wear the Speedo so they could judge me in it. Because that's what judges do. They judge you. I put my Speedo on and am standing there in the courtroom. The judge agrees with the officers that it's a crime to look that good in that kind of a Speedo, and I'm sentenced to 100 hours of community service. And that's where the story ends. I never did stop wearing that Speedo to work. It is too damn comfortable, I will tell you what. And sadly, that guy got away. Hopefully to never do this to someone else. The end. I appreciate you sticking around to listen to this stupid story, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bumblebee Tuna.